Hey guys, this is Shane reporting to you from my purple library. And I've never done one of these before, so go easy on me. But I am just really kind of getting into teaching, and I thought now would be a good time to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is the chromatic. Now, to a lot of people in the harmonica world, especially the blues world, this thing can be kind of intimidating. Um, you should not look at it like that. It should only be ever be like just another harmonica in your case. Like you have a C and you have an A and you have a D, and but it does require a little bit more. What's the word? You need to know a little bit more of what you're doing. Like the breathing pattern is different a little bit than the diatonic. But the one thing that I want to talk about today is something that's very synonymous with the chromatic, especially in blues, which is third position. In third position, a lot of the time, you will hear guys primarily not use this, which is the button on the chromatic, which just gives you all your sharps and flats on the instrument. So a lot of times you'll hear blues guys ignoring this and just playing the Dorian scale, or they'll throw in a couple blue notes here and there. Like if you ever hear like William Clark or Rod Piazza or George Smith, a lot of times you'll hear them doing stuff like this. So they have those big, like kind of like cheeseburger like octaves that they're playing, and they're getting that really cool kind of organ-like sound. And I love that sound. I grew up listening to William Clark. He was the first harmonica player I ever heard and blew my doors off. And I've always chased that sound. As I started to get older, I started searching out other players. Paul DeLay being a big one for me, and of course another big one for me was Stevie Wonder. Now these guys would also play in third position. They would play in the key of D on a C chromatic, but they didn't sound quite so dark. Like with like George Smith, you heard like those like those big like fat kind of ominous sounding octaves. But like with Stevie Wonder, he would still play in D, but he would sound a lot sweeter. So, and like even Paul DeLay used a lot of things like that. He didn't embellish the slide so much, but he still was using a lot of those kind of more majory runs than some of the older blues guys. So when I was younger, I was wondering like what's going on here? Like why does it's the same harmonica, they're playing the same key, so why does one sound so different than the other? Well, the answer came in really two parts. The first part was that obviously to get that kind of stevier sound, you'll notice that I'm puckering and I'm not tongue blocking. Like in order to get that George Smith sound, you need to have that kind of cheeseburger embouchure. And you basically need to drag that cheeseburger along the entire length of the chromatic. But so that was one aspect, was that, with the pucker embouchure, you were able to get a little bit more of that kind of sweetness that Stevie was able to get. And that kind of has more of like a vocal, or like much more like a vocal kind of quality to it. The second thing that was the big difference between those two players, or those two schools of players for me, was the use of something called the major third. Now, I'm not going to get music theory-y with you guys today, but it's still very important for everyone to learn a little bit of music theory because it really does help, especially when you start to play things outside of blues. And when you start to play blues, obviously it helps to know what a 1, a 4, and a 5 chord are. So the note that was being primarily used to differentiate these two styles of playing was the major third. Now, if you're playing in D on a C chromatic, you're going to play one draw. So I'm using a 16 hole. Doesn't matter if 16 hole, 12 hole, it all works. You just get the lower octave with these bottom 4 holes. So in order to play in D, you would play 1 draw, 2 blow. Now the third note of the scale, that's 2 draw, that's a minor third. So when you would hear guys like George Smith and William Clark, they would play things like 1 draw to 2 draw. Which sounds cool. It sounds very bluesy, and it, it definitely has its place. But what if you're playing something that's a little bit more joyous? Like, you don't want to. It would just be wrong to kind of paint that darker minor third over something that was really, bright and happy and something like that. So what I found out when I was a kid was that they were using, or Stevie and Paul especially, were using the button a lot. Now if you play the same thing, 1 draw to 2 draw, but instead of just playing 2 draw, you play 2 draw with the slide in, you're going to find that you get what's called a major third. Now this major third doesn't really seem like that much of a difference, so once again I'll play the minor third and then I'll play the major third. So minor third, and the major third. So you can tell there's a big difference, right, between major third and minor third. It's like one of them is really happy and one of them is kind of depressed. So just think about this in your playing. Like, if you're playing something that's, maybe a little happier or maybe a little more upbeat, maybe something that's, not a slow D minor blues, maybe you want a different color. Maybe instead of something sounding like, you want it to sound like, it really depends on what you want, but just be aware of the fact that that note's there, and it really changes a lot of how you approach songs. It also changes your approach to this particular harmonica. So that's all I was thinking about today. Great guys to check out who make really, really great use of the major third. My favorite right now in the scene is a guy named Hank Shreve, who I'll link his channel below. You guys should definitely check him out. He's playing some killer third position chromatic, and not just traditional chromatic, but with this added in major third. I think that's all I got time for today, guys. That was all that was on my head. Again, please, this doesn't have to just be used for third position, but when it is used for third position, there's so many more things you can do with it besides what has been done in the past. Not to say that what's been done in the past isn't amazing, because it is, but there's so much more it could do. So that's all I got for today. Please go easy on me in the comment section, because I am very new to YouTube. And yeah, go play a harmonica. Have a good day, everyone.